Going back to one of the reasons why I've chosen to run it this time is because I firmly believe, I've always believed, that people matter, that government is there to serve people, that we should look out for each other in our communities, and we should do what we can to make our communities strong. My belief and the belief of Blaine Higgs is fundamentally different. I'm not convinced that people matter nearly as much to Mr. Higgs as the bottom line does. We see things that are simply unacceptable. Affordability is huge with people. People making, 25%, I think was the number that I read just a few days ago. 25% of the people in New Brunswick are making below $20 an hour. A lot of them are traveling a fair distance back and forth to work with the high price of fuel, the high price of insurance, the high price of everything. During COVID and inflation, most people, a lot of people in New Brunswick, the majority, seniors especially, those on fixed incomes, those on social assistance, people trying to raise a family on minimum wage or a little above, they were really put to the test. It was a challenge just to put food on the table. I know for a fact that people had to sometimes make choices, difficult choices, between rent and food, or between rent and having the gas to go to work, or food, or medicine, or that's ridiculous. But yet the province profited off this. Blaine Higgs profited off of people's misery. When inflation happened, the HST revenue, of course, went right through the roof, which was a windfall for the government. The province of New Brunswick took in tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in federal grants and programs and stuff. Money flowed into New Brunswick. It flowed like the St. John River in the spring. The dam couldn't hold it all. But it wasn't properly spent, and in some cases it wasn't even spent at all. The Minister of Public Safety in the last budget, leading up to the budget, made a commitment to the people of New Brunswick that he would bring in 52 additional RCMP officers to help with policing in New Brunswick. That's not going to happen. It's simply not going to happen. If you talk to an RCMP officer, they cannot recruit the people they need just to meet the previous commitment they have with New Brunswick. They're really struggling for recruitment and retention like a lot of places are, but the RCMP, I think, are having an especially difficult time. For them to find 52 additional officers is simply false. Yet that money has been set aside in the budget for 52 police officers, RCMP officers. That's a considerable chunk of change. That money is probably not going to ever be spent, and that's one of the places where Blaine Higgs gets his surpluses. They allocate money, it's in the budget, then they don't spend it. When they don't spend it, it becomes a surplus. And that is one example of where that happens. If people really mattered, he would take that money that's not being spent over here and he would put it where it's needed over here. But he never does that. That's ridiculous. People's Alliance, we're a fiscally responsible party. We're not interested in running up deficits like the Liberals may be, but we're not interested in hoarding money like the current Premier is. We understand that people pay taxes in exchange for essential services. That is why that's why we pay taxes. That's the intent of taxes. Most people are fine with that. There's a couple of families in St. John that don't like to pay taxes, but that's a whole other matter. Most of us are willing to pay taxes if we get good value. So we want to invest where it's needed. So once the budget is passed and whatever, we find that for whatever reason, and there can be any number of reasons, where an allocation is not being used or won't be used in the current fiscal year, we would have no issue with saying, all right, well, look, if you're not going to use it over here, it's already in the budget. We estimated a little short over here. Let's apply it here to help ease the pain and make a little more progress, whether it be health or education or infrastructure or whatever. No, you should be a little more flexible. Governments operating in silos. Now, that has improved slightly out of necessity during COVID, but they're quickly reverting back to the bad habits of the past. We can perform a very important function in government as a minority. We can keep the government focused on priorities. The real priorities, not necessarily the Premier's priorities or the governing party's priorities, but the priorities of the people of New Brunswick. We can keep them focused on what needs to be focused on, because they tend to stray a little bit when they're given the opportunity. And the more leeway they have, the further they stray. And next thing you know, they're in a totally different pasture somewhere. They've completely left the ballpark. So a minority government can and would keep them focused on the priorities of people. That's what it's all about. That's why we're doing what we're doing. And the people in New Brunswick, I really wish that they would consider getting behind that, because it's in their best interest.